Hi, I'm Sweta and I'm a 2013 Teach for India Fellow. I teach in a government school in Harapsar. I teach 7th graders, 47th graders. These kids, they come from a background where they are financially struggling, but again, looking at the investment of the parents in their child's education, I think we've come a long way. So when I first walked into my classroom, I walked into a class where the girls and boys were sitting separately. So that thing really hit me, that they're in a classroom but they're not together. Second was the disparity that they had amongst their learning levels, where one student can probably read and write. That was at least 5% of the class, whereas the rest was still struggling reading a simple sentence from their grade level textbook. So the vision for my class was very simple, that they will not be categorized as underprivileged students. They should be able to talk, they should be able to think, they should be able to take decisions like any other student across this country, across the globe. Second, I would want them to be better human beings at the end of the day. So I think in the classroom there's a lot of reflection that goes on. We've created a sort of 6 levels of behavior development in the classroom, where they constantly think about their actions and they sort of assess themselves on those particular actions. It's a collective effort in the class, where let's say if I am not addressing something, there's definitely some other person addressing the issue in the class. So there's a lot of independent thinking, there's a lot of independent learning that's happening in the classroom that has helped my class come as a one whole family. I think that one value that I brought to my classroom was authenticity. I think that has made me into a stronger person and a better individual by the end of my fellowship. That I know what I'm trying to teach, what I'm trying to preach, that's something that I should practice myself. The proudest moment for me will be in my fellowship, when my entire school team, all five of us sat together and decided upon one vision for the entire school. And when we saw that coming alive through student council bodies, through elections, through kids participating for Model United Nations, I think those were the really glows of my fellowship, where I saw them grow as independent thinkers, decision makers, the change makers across the school. So it's simple, at the same time it's very complicated to explain. Complicated because I know what is the background of these kids. I know what are the different challenges they are facing every day, and I know what I am trying for them. It's going to be difficult for them to grasp it in just 2 years. So it's complicated that way. It's simple because you see the value of your work every single day in your classroom. You know what you're striving for is going to give you results on a daily basis. And it's at the end of the day what Teach for India says, that excellent education for everyone. There are a lot of people who are involved in this holistic education that we are talking about. So something that I would have worked on more would be trying to get probably 100% of the parents on board. We do have parent investment, but again, when it comes to those 10 kids in the classroom where their parents are completely disinvested, so maybe if I could have gotten more parents on board, that would have made a rapid growth for these students who are still struggling, who are still probably 2 years behind their grade level. Since I'm teaching a secondary grade and I know what kind of different levels I'm dealing with in the classroom learning levels, unless and until we build a very strong foundation in the initial years of their education, the gap will just keep widening and it will just become more and more difficult. We need to bridge the gap as soon as possible, so that by the time they come to their secondary years, they're concentrating on more difficult skills that they need to honor right now. I would love to stay back for another year and just work on the learning levels with these kids, so that, you know, bridging the gap becomes simpler, and the vision that I have, that all these students will pass their 10th board examination. So when I entered the fellowship, I thought I'm going to just change these 47th graders, teenagers across these 2 years. But as time just passed by, I just kept thinking about my role, that how important it is for me to be a teacher to these 47th graders, and how important it is for me to stay back and just ensure that they're having a sustainable, excellent education.
Okay.